Good morning. So today we're going to have a lamb roast for lunch. I thought I'd show you how easy it is to cook one of our beautiful Lauriston lambs. Here it is. Actually took this one out of the freezer last night, so it's nice and defrosted. And I'll leave this out on the bench for the next couple of hours because you've got to take it out of the fridge before you cook it. But the first thing we need to do is work out how much it weighs. On the scales, nice and simply, 1.9 kilos. So let's just say 2 kilos. Now cooking time for lamb is really simple. You need 30 minutes for every 500 grams. So, or an hour for every kilo, obviously. So I'm going to cook this for 2 hours. Now if you're the sort of person that cannot stand to let your meat rest after you cook it, then you need to add another 20 minutes of cooking time. But I will rest this for 15 minutes when it comes out of the oven. That gives it that last piece of cooking, gives it time for the juices to solidify a little. So this is going to be popped in the oven at about 175 degrees for 2 hours, and it'll be beautiful. So I've had the lamb resting for an hour or so it's room temperature. It's very important to have room temperature before you put it in the oven, otherwise it doesn't cook through properly. First thing I do is get a bit of my homemade olive oil off our lovely olive trees here. Get your hands on it, give it a little bit of a covering, get the olive oil all over the meat, like so. It's about all it needs. Just give my hands a little wash. The next thing I like to do is put some garlic and rosemary just in the surface of the lamb. Gives an amazing flavour throughout. So I just get my little knife. You can see the fleshy bits. We just give them jabs, like so. Don't worry about going too deep. And then with a couple of garlic slithers, we just slide them in. You can go down as far as you like. This will all be nice bits of garlic when you carve up. I'll do the rest in a minute, but also with my rosemary, we just get some sprigs out of the orchard, cut them into little sections. I find one little bit of twig for each one is nice, and we just shove them in the alternate holes. You can obviously do as much or as little of this as you like, but again, they'll be nice and crispy when you do the carving. So I'll just finish this off and then we'll come back and have a look at salting and putting in the oven. Okay, so I've finished putting the rosemary and the garlic in the roast. Now I always like to add a bit of salt. Lamb loves salt. Doesn't have to be heavy. What that does is actually ends you up with all this little very thin layer of fat. It gets a little bit crispy. So when you carve up, it's just got that little bit of crunch to it. So that's ready for the oven. I try to use a trivet every time I can, just so the air gets around under the bottom, so that doesn't get sort of soggy. But if you're trying to cook 2 of those in one pan, trivets doesn't really work. Just ponk them in, it won't matter. Bit of baking paper. So he goes in like that. And then we just transfer him to the oven. As I said before, about 170, 180. Put him in the middle of the oven. I'm going to add my roasted root veggies. Very hard to have a roast lamb without roasted roots. They look pretty good, nice and colourful. They go in as well. Our oven's a bit old and slow, so these will cook for nearly 2 hours. 180, 2 hours, don't need to touch it. See you in 2 hours how it looks. Okay, so after 2 hours, I've simply taken it out of the oven, put it on a carving tray as you can see, and put loosely some tin foil over it. And I've left that alone for 13 minutes. Please don't leave it alone for 2 or half an hour. About 15 minutes is great. So what do we have now? We have a beautiful roast leg of lamb. Look at that. And if I'm right about it, it should just carve up nice and pink for us. Look at that. So we're now going to go and sit outside and eat this with a whole lot of veggies and have a lovely day. See ya.